The conundrum is you desperately want to get better at the craft of screenwriting, and you're doing the stuff you keep hearing people tell you to do. Read scripts, read books, watch videos like this one, and even start scripting your stories, but you don't know if you're even getting better. But how much you improve in the craft has to do with two factors: how you approach improvement and focusing on the right things. And chances are you're doing it all wrong. So let me help you find a better way. If you're gonna take the time to tell a story, then tell a story that matters. Just because you can write words doesn't mean you can actually write. And I know that's a harsh place to start, but let's be honest with ourselves for a moment. And let's pretend, just for a couple of minutes, that we want to be masters of a craft other than screenwriting. So what if I told you that you, yes you, could be a Grammy award-winning singer within the next year? I mean, you'd more than likely think I'm crazy, right? What if I told you that you, yes you, could sculpt a masterpiece from a slab of marble that would be displayed in the Louvre a year from now? Again, you'd think I'm crazy. But what if I told you that this next season, you had a legitimate shot at being a starter on the Manchester United soccer team, or you choose a professional team? Again, you'd say, yeah, Jake, there's no way. But honestly, it's not impossible. It's highly improbable, yes, but not impossible. Why? Well, because all of those things are crafts. The skills you need to masterfully execute them can be learned and honed. Talent gets you started, but learned skill and practice get you the rest of the way there. I mean, no one starts out an expert or a master at any craft. It doesn't matter how much talent they have. I mean, Tiger Woods, Serena Williams, Cristiano Ronaldo, they didn't start as top tier masters of their craft. They had talent, yes, but they also had to learn the necessary skills to become masters. But if you had enough talent to get you a decent amount down the road, you could begin your quest to be a Grammy award-winning musical artist within the next year. But what would it take? I mean, what would it take to get you from where you're at with a bunch of talent already to be on stage accepting a Grammy in the next year? I mean, besides a miracle or winning some TV singing competition and giving you a big break. I mean, it would take a ton of focused work. But the real question is, what kind of work? And here's my point, because I hope you're already connecting the dots. But a lot of new writers just think, you know, I'm going to write a movie that gets made next year. You may have some talent, you may even have a little bit of skill, but why is it that we think that it's nearly impossible for someone brand new to win a Grammy or make the Manchester United team, and yet it's easy for us to write a screenplay good enough to not only get bought, but get made? I mean, they're the same thing. The same hurdles with one are the exact same hurdles with the other. All crafts are the same. I mean, yes, you can start with talent, but no matter how much talent you're starting with, they still require a ton of focused work. And the real question is, what kind of work? And the reality is that most writers don't know what kind of work. They don't know the answer to that question. So you know what happens is they default to what they just keep hearing from other people. Just sit down and write a script. But you don't even have software or know how formatting works. Or they tell you, just read some books, read some scripts. You're like, I have no idea which ones to read, how to find them. There's so many. Or just go watch movies. Again, which ones? And you start to get buried under the weight of what everyone else thinks you should be doing. But what I want you to do is I want you to pick one of the example crafts I gave you and choose one that makes sense to you. Either the musical artist, the sculptor, the athlete, whichever one you can more closely align with, the one that you're more familiar with. Now, I want you to imagine what kind of work does that person need to do to not only get better, but to become a master at their craft. And make no mistake, all those people that we mentioned are masters at the craft. So what are they doing to achieve mastery? I mean, is the singer only singing? Is the sculptor only sculpting marble? Is the athlete only playing in games? Well, in actuality, no. They are practicing the specific skills they need to hone and acquire. Now, they aren't only practicing, but they are mostly practicing, and they are regularly practicing small pieces of the whole. The singer is working on her vocal range or studying music. The sculptor is practicing sculpting eyes for a month straight or learning about how different tools interact with marble. The athlete is practicing passing or hitting or shooting for hours at a time, not to mention all the game tapes they're studying and breaking down. But what they are not doing is they are not relegating all of their learning to the performance part of the craft. They are becoming masters at all of the pieces because they can then put all those pieces together and then perform with mastery. In other words, they aren't only writing a screenplay. They are practicing the pieces needed to craft an excellent screenplay. When I was much younger, I loved playing tennis. I still wish I could, but my knees just won't let me. And I would practice serving with buckets and buckets of tennis balls. I mean, first I would put frisbees in the service court, and when I could consistently hit them, I switched to smaller plastic lids, like a tub of a butter size. And then I progressed to quarters. And I'd listen for the quarter hopping after I hit it. And that was just serving for hours and hours and hours. So ask yourself, how many character introductions have you written? 30? 100? 1,000? How many scenes have you written? How many ideas have you come up with? How many times have you revised a scene? Do you even know how to approach revising a scene, much less a whole script? And I'm not telling you this because I want to discourage you. In fact, I want to encourage you. But the first step is that more than likely you need to change your approach for how you're learning the craft of screenwriting. And you've probably heard the whole 10,000 hours thing about practicing a craft for 10,000 hours to become a master at it. But that's not accurate. It's 10,000 hours of the right kind of practice, of serving buckets of tennis balls, of singing vocal scales so much that you can fluidly shift between your regular voice and falsetto without anyone noticing, of being able to sculpt an ear to perfection without breaking off any piece of marble. I love that you're watching this video in my channel for a lot of reasons. I mean, one, so you can hit the like button if you're finding value. Two, because I want you to be a better screenwriter, and that's why I make the content I make. Three, because I want you to get to screenwriting mastery faster than I did. There are stories that only you can tell, but if you don't know how to tell them, the world will never hear them. And I don't want that. Not for you and not for our world, who desperately needs to hear the stories that you have to tell. But here's what I really want. I want you to shift your mindset from thinking screenwriting is only happening when you are writing an actual script. You can't only focus on the performance of the craft. Screenwriting is just like every other craft. It takes practice, hours and hours of practice. It takes time. It takes investing your resources. It takes a commitment from you that is unwavering and long-suffering because it's going to take you a while to get there. Even if you're starting with a bunch of baked-in talent, it still requires practice, time, investing, and commitment to become a master at any craft, screenwriting included. Most screenwriters take between 10 to 15 years just to break in, just to start getting their stuff read and maybe getting something optioned or garnering accolades in contests. And if you aren't willing to put in the work, you have two options. You can either be content with screenwriting only being a hobby for you, which is perfectly fine, or you can just go ahead and quit now. Because if you don't change your approach to becoming a master at the craft, you will never get there. But if you want to get there, if you want to change your approach, let me give you 5 practical things you can do that can help you begin moving to mastery. And these are 5 things that will help you practice the craft in the right way. Number 1, if you're on draft 6 or higher of any script you are currently working on, okay, just put it in a drawer and start something else. I know it's your passion project. I know you love it. I know it'll be awesome if it gets made, but you are not a master of the craft yet. And if you're writing on draft number 6 and you're not finished yet, you're not a master of the craft yet. There are some things you need to work on so you can improve in the craft. And the only way you can do that is to stop working on that script and move on. Have different experiences, learn to craft new characters, practice writing new scenes, but keep in mind that writing a script is the performative part of the craft. And you should absolutely be working on a script, absolutely, but it can't be the only thing you're doing to move you toward mastery. So if that's all you're doing and you're on a high draft number, put it away, start something new. Number 2, read and study 20 screenplays, preferably for movies or TV shows that you have seen. And you're not reading them to read them in well, that's 20 I've read, okay, so now what? No. You're actually not reading them. You're studying them, pulling them apart, dissecting them. You will be amazed at how much you can learn just by reading and studying other screenplays. Make notes on them. Write in the margins like you're studying a textbook for a test in school. What is being done on the page is just as important as what isn't being done. And one of the things that this type of study does is it helps you begin to learn the level at which your work needs to be to even be considered by networks and studios, because you're here. But the scripts that are considered at network level, they're over here. And you have to start closing the gap as fast as you can. And studying and reading screenplays helps you begin to close that gap and to recognize what is good and what isn't. Plus, you begin learning things like formatting and storytelling tools and techniques, and even what you can do and probably shouldn't be doing in your own scripts. Number 3, cultivate a regular habit of intentionally working on the craft of screenwriting. Now, this doesn't mean writing every day. It might, but it does mean working on the craft every day. So that might be through reading books. It might be through having regular time every day to practice writing scenes or creating characters or outlining stories or coming up with ideas or a host of other things you can do. I mean, maybe you would benefit from using some writing prompts, and there's several out there for writing. But if you want some writing prompts that are geared specifically towards screenwriting, and you want some prompts that will help you focus on the things you should be focusing on, there's a link below for a free 30-day jumpstart. All free 30 days of writing prompts that you can do to get better at the craft. But whatever you do, if you want to move toward mastery, you have to carve out regular time to work on the craft. Create a habit of craft improvement. Number 4, journal. Now, I know it sounds lame, especially if you're not into journaling, and it's not something you have to do forever. But journaling is incredibly helpful when you're working toward mastery. It's an easy way to set goals, to make writing plans, and more importantly, to reflect on how you're doing. Reflection is actually a very effective tool at helping us learn, because we are identifying our own strengths and weaknesses in our own writing. And as a result, we can course correct a lot easier. But you can only change your course if you know what course you're currently on. And if you just incorporate journaling for 15 minutes every day after you've done some writing to reflect on how your writing went, to write about your own writing and experiences of writing, whether you're merely practicing or working on an actual script, you will be amazed at how quickly you begin to progress. Number 5, study movies and shows that you like. Don't just watch them. You sit down to watch for the purpose of breaking them apart. Keep the pause button handy. Have something to write on. Note how many scenes there are. What types of scenes? How long are the scenes? Can you identify the pieces of the story or the structure of the story? Can you identify the storytelling moments and emotional turns for the audience? Make notes of the story beats, the character arcs, and anything else you find interesting or that you are specifically studying. So things like tropes or subplots or storytelling tools like dramatic irony or scenes of preparation and aftermath. If you're doing some focused practice on, for example, character arcs, and learning how to craft better character arcs, then watch a movie and track the arcs of the characters. What are the character moments that impact their arc? And you can further dive into other resources too. I mean, books are really helpful here, but so are blogs, online communities, YouTube channels like this one, and there's a bunch of other resources out there. And all of these things that I just mentioned, all 5, are free or very close to free. I mean, you can do these with little to no cost on your part. At the same time, like any singer or sculptor or athlete knows, it's better if you have help along the way. A coach, a teacher, a mentor. And there are a lot of teachers out there who can help you, and some are better than others, but find one if you really want to accelerate your progress toward mastery. That might mean you decide to go to film school. Maybe you find some online classes, but do something. And whatever you do should probably be different than what you're currently doing. I mean, why? Well, doing the same thing over and over that you're already doing and expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. I want you to get results. I want you to find success. And I love helping people just like you find success. So yeah, I have an online course and I have a coaching program. I have those as additional tools to help you arrive at mastery faster. But I have some really great news. My screenwriting course, the Screenwriting Fast Track, is getting a major upgrade. And one of those things it now includes is a community component, the ability to connect with other writers who are serious about moving toward mastery. And that's just one part of the upgrade. And if you're ready to stop playing at the craft and make some serious progress, and if you're interested in developing relationships with other writers who are also serious, you should watch this video right here to learn more about it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget about all the fun buttons below, and when you decide to tell a story that matters. See you later.